So, in this analysis, we're going to be going over gunfights with Gibby. Now, I've chosen specifically a very poor performance on Gibraltar to be able to pick apart what I do wrong, which are often very common mistakes with heavy characters such as Gibraltar, such as Caustic, such as Newcastle. Newcastle and Caustic, a little bit less just because they play a little differently. Gibby's just the most standard large character in this game. The idea here is to be able to understand when and where to use the bubble, when and how Gibby's size is an advantage or a disadvantage, as well how to analyze the changes that need to be made to gameplay that you can become a better anchor for your team with Gibraltar. I do all these in control just because it's much easier to have a lot of gunfights in a short period of time. It is less realistic to the overall side of Apex with Battle Royale and such, but control can get those isolated gunfights that you don't really see much elsewhere. I'm going to skip forward, try and set up actually where gunfights begin. Right now, as I'm walking up, my first thought is I want to know where enemies are taking. Right now, there's one enemy that should be coming up here. This, as far as I'm aware, was a misclick of my bubble, just completely honest. We have enemies that are to the right here that are currently killing our teammates. So I know that I'm going to have to watch my right side. Actually, I can't do this blue. No, not with Gibby bubble. The enemies here to this right side, right? And we need to be very aware of what's going on, as well as the area in front here, because people are approaching. My first instinct is, as I move, I have an enemy jumping off an octane pad this way, so they can either land on the roof, which I'm now walking up to go take advantage of, and more enemies still going to come up from here. My goal is to be able to section off a fight and use this Gibby ult to stop more fights from incoming or close off the fight in general. As I'm walking up, it's just analyzing where teammates are, where enemies are, where's the gunfights happening, what can I do to help. On Gibby, this is not a good position whatsoever. Gibby is a frontliner. He is in the fight. He is meant to be that anchor. This is not the best place for Gibby to be. I'm out of place. Enemies on both sides. There's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 enemies. These teammates are dead. There's no point in me going up in that. I realize that, and there's one person on the team that's not in there. That's not on B right now. So now my goal is to just reposition and find a better place to go. AK for just a sec, so I had to grab some. And now I'm heading over to A because we can't get them off B. This is just part of playing control. I just want to be able to take them off the point and start taking a gunfight. As I'm up, first thing to note with this fight, I'm just going to go at just a second. There's, as you can hear, there's no audio whatsoever. When I'm looking to the right to see if there's any more enemies here. If any more of them are going to be approaching and coming from this direction, if I do take a gunfight here. That is the biggest part in me looking this direction. From here, I can hear the octane stim, but there's still no footsteps, no nothing else before walking up to this. I was still not fully aware of this octane. The higher I get up, though, I hear him, and I just have to take the gunfight. Right there, the simplest use of Gibby, and this is something I can recommend to everybody, is that when you're playing Gibby, you need to make your strafes wider. It sounds counterintuitive because if you're doing a slightly longer strafe, isn't it going to be easier for someone to smooth out when they're looking at you? But because of the size of Gibby compared to something like Wraith or Octane, if you have an Octane whose hitbox is like this, and of course the hitboxes in Apex are not squares, but it's general, a Gibby would have an equivalent hitbox of something akin to this. Gibby, compared to Watson, the smallest character model size, Gibby has 3 times the amount of pixels in an on-screen space at the same distance than Watson. What you need to do is understand that this strafe, if this Octane is strafing between here and here, or this other small character is strafing between here and here, it leaves gaps. So as they strafe back and forth, you'll have that gap. A Gibby with this size, short strafing, so doing the same short, mild strafes, as you can see here. See how he strafes just a small bit back and forth? That's going to be helpful with this small character. Because Gibby is so large, I walk in one direction, it's a slight recorrect to make them move their aim over, and then it's continuing on the further direction. Because all it is as I move one direction, I cause a hiccup in their aim to move the other way, and I walk backwards. It's the simplest way to use and abuse the size of your character and hopefully mess up the person you are fighting against. Controller, it's a lot harder because of aim assist. There's not much I can say towards that. You do what you can against a controller on a large character. But the strafing method of medium to short, opposite direction short, and then a long will mess up a lot of players because they don't understand the one, quick recorrection, and two, actually paying attention in the middle of a gunfight, because as it's obvious here, it's pretty hard to see this Octane, even if it is, easy to recognize. So, noticing those strafes, even if this Octane is going short, medium, short, the Octane strafes are not going to, as long as they're not a pretty decent aimer, are not going to be able to beat strafes like this. And this is just ground strafing. That is not covering strafing over like using lurch strafing or raw strafing, for example. Moving forward, because this is just capping points. But as I'm capping point, I close all the doors and I'm cycling. I'm looking around where enemies. I hear him spawn, and so I hear the weapons equipped. I know he's coming out of here. I have space to my left that I can use, and I have this open area. My goal is to push him out here so that I have this cover that I can work off of. So I see him. I keep close to cover. He's jumping out. So my immediate movement is I move backwards. I keep that space in case I need to move back, but I have these teammates here. So all I do is just work. On these strafes, I'd like to take just a slight note on the way that I worked Gibby here. Is that playing with Gibby, I'm backing up. Now, playing this box further on the corner would have been a lot more beneficial. That is one big problem, is that continuously keeping that over peak, I would have been considerably safer, especially with the teammates that are on the way here. These teammates here are going to be a lot of help as they're approaching. So, keeping this left back up. When I'm strafing, I'm also walking backwards. I'm holding both D and S as I'm strafing to the side here. As I go for this correction, I'm crouching. While it won't do much for most players, because he is jumping, that crouch can mess up. So the crouching is just inherent to the way that I'm strafing right now. I go back. He's there with me. All it is now I'm working my strafes around him. The jump is thrown in just because I can. This Maggie pops up. I'm low health. I have teammates here. The bubble is thrown down. I had no prior audio as far as I could hear of this Maggie, so this is a reaction. The first instance, especially because the Maggie's not directly approaching me, is throwing that bubble. From there, I know teammate has this angle, so I want to take the other angle of the bubble and work this cover that I've now created for everyone, being this bubble border. I see the enemies in front, so I peek with teammate. I walk around, just trying to work whatever I can. Enemy's dead. I go to heal immediately. Teammate gets rolled up on by another enemy. I go to the side to I have two teammates. I can go and heal here. It's the simplest way that I can do things. I throw my ult because as if anybody is climbing up top on the sides, or if there's anybody that's approaching on this side, though I messed up the Gibby ult, I should have thrown it in this area more. If I'm looking down below, like this area over here would have been nicer because any approaching enemies from this direction would have been stopped by the ult a bit more. But it still gets the job done as far as halting any progress of the enemies, though that was a very poor usage of the ult. Because there's enemies there, I'm walking outside and I'm looking, what can I do? How can I retake this fight? Initially, in this fight, as I go, I just miss a bunch of shots. Nothing much I can say there. This is where the errors start, though, because even if I'm missing here, there's other enemy bullets, but instead of staying behind here, I peek wide, so now I get shot from this enemy. I get shot more, I get distracted, and I die. I should have hugged this as best as I could, if not climbed this slightly, and jumped backwards to try and mess up this Octane strafes. That was one of the worst abuses of Gibby's size. And if you are wondering about the bubble, by the way, I have no bubble this entire fight. So swinging this wide regardless was not going to be helpful to my case. Once again, it's just that I have an issue. I'm not thinking about my positioning, and I get caught out. Simple as. Well, coming back on the respawn, I'm looking at working where's enemies, where's teammates. Now we have B that's working here that I can just move off of. So walking up, seeing what I can do to help frontline my teammates, because I know enemies have been heavily focusing B. Just checking progress if there's anything dropped on the floor. There's enemies here. I want to capitalize off this. There's 2 enemies on the stairs, right? So, because I know there's a certain amount of enemies, and there's some on the stairs here, and I believe one in the back. My first instinct is to be able to block this off and set up for my team. I have a grenade here, so I need to set up here, and then get away from the grenade, which is somewhere in this area over here. I back up. I set down my bubble to 1, block the grenade, and then 2, set my arc star off. I hit 1 person. The crypto drone has 2. So the first thing I know I can do is play patient and just peek solo and see what I can do, because I have this bubble for free cover. I can play off of that. I walk outwards. 1 runs away, so I aggress on the Maggie. It's a sloppy bubble kill. It's not great strafes, but the simplest thing to do is as they're strafing, you stay on one side, and as soon as they peek, you go outside, pause, and go back in. Because, and looking at the gunfight here, this enemy stays here, right? If I let them peek first, they have a bit of advantage. They don't have a shotgun outside. So I peek, I go in, I wait for them to go outside, they re-peek quickly, so I just know I get a free shot off. They miss, that's simply on the enemy's part. But here, I go back outside and wait for them and strafe with them now because I have the advantage. As long as I get those first shots or 2, I am completely confident in taking this bubble space. Then I stay inside while healing, waiting. There's at least 2 more enemies that I'm scanning. I realize that I don't have a good space here with the arc star and everything, so I'm going to back up and heal. And I see this lone Valkyrie. So I have teammates with me. It's just a quick, clean kill. I don't need to stress about any of it. I'm just waiting to heal, checking to see. Honestly, that was just me checking the scoreboard. Setting up weapons, and now I just wait. It's just wanting to wait for more fights, and I want my bubble to be back. Here, I see there were at least 2 enemies as I'm walking up. So as I go out here to get back in my fight now that I'm healed, this door opens, 1 enemy, and I believe there's a second fuse I see. Yeah, there's the second here. I walk forward. I'm now in this hole. I know I have a few seconds before it'll get to me. I get 2 kills. There's a third still here that I noted. I throw this directly on me and reload before I heal because there's the approaching enemies. I kill because I'm in this Gibby ult. I'm looking for damage. There's damage numbers here, and as well, if we go back just a little bit earlier, that is one of the things that you can abuse the Gibby bowls, is when there's damage numbers, you get free information on their position, and you know that they are stunned, slowed, and blurred. So you get to walk forward. There's now 3 enemies because it's the Seer, the Maggie, and the Pathfinder. As I walk forward, I know that I just have to kill whatever I can. So I have 1, 2. There's 2 different enemies here. That is why I stay focused on this area past the initial kill. There's 1 back here, and then as I go for the longer record, there's the second number there. The second 40 here. So no, there's 1 person here and another person over by the crates. I want to look forward, see where I might find more enemies, get the kill, and now I'm waiting for the grenade to go before I run back to safety to heal. That is the best I can do for a Gibby bubble. It just allows me to take space immediately with no worries about counters unless someone takes that space back from me. From here, I'm looking at going and re-entering fights. My goal is to just get aggressive. So I run back in, no bubble, which is stupid. Walking this far up with no insurance of safety, and when you take a portal, there's roughly a second cooldown before you can re-enter a portal, and you need to be a certain amount of space away from it before that resets. Not taking that space is a very bad idea because I have no knowledge of the positioning here. I look forward, One enemy at least. I check, and now I have people to my left. I have what looks to be 2 over here. I'm assuming there's 2 in this gunfight, which is why I stay back a bit. I crack 1, and I walk forward because there's a teammate close, or enemy close. And I run immediately back to cover. I'm getting shot. 3 people. I know right where I need to move. I want to try and play this as safe as I can, but I'm not going to win a 1v3, especially when they have a head glitch. So rolling back and trying to play for my bubble and play for my teammates is going to help save me here. I'm just holding angles now. That's the best that I can do. Is just try and hold angles, try and play patient. The fusils kind of cut me off from going back, but I don't really want to go back in this instance. I want to move forward. I walk up. I see there's 1 enemy here, 1 enemy crossing here, 1 with a head glitch. 1 on the right, I don't believe I recognize or notice, but I do know there's shots somewhere in this area. So I know that there's someone here with 3 people in this area. I have the most cover here and a teammate here with 1 behind. I'm going to look left here and section myself off. I have the 2 enemies peeking here, so I need to move left to get away from them. I throw the bubble down because I took a lot more damage, and I flank. This is the easiest way for them to not expect my movement. Walk up. There's only 1 in front because my teammate has killed 1. That's wonderful. It allows me to just kind of capitalize on this. I want to back up here because there's an enemy here and another enemy here, and I cannot win that fight confidently. I back up because my bubble will be gone soon, and I kind of just play safe. Now, that was the worst climb in the world, I'm not going to lie, but it gave me the space I needed to be able to back up. We have a full enemy team, and I have no ability to know where they are besides that bloodhound scan, and I have no Gibby ult to section off the new enemies that are approaching. So my only option here is to stay or go back, and my teammates honestly are kind of just getting destroyed. I'm just peppering, putting in damage. That is one of the safest things you can do, is look for peppering damage. I want to stay crouched because of a seer ult, but I find it because that was probably a missed throw. Bottom of the stairs there, or sorry, below the stairs was the safest place, but they likely missed through it. I had to capitalize off that. They now not know where we are, so long as we move a bit. And now I just want to make sure that I can get the kills that I can and hold B, because if we lose B, our teammate's not going to be able to retake it. Now that I have a semblance of advantage in a bubble, I'm bubbling forward. Also, I never noticed that bubble up. That's actually kind of cute. Run forward. 1, 2, 3 enemies. First I'm going for is this enemy here. I can either flank on the side or I can run directly through here. If I go through the right, it's essentially suicide with Gibby, because going to this little right section has 2 different people with a 3rd around the corner that can see me. Going inside has 2, and going around has 1 that'll obviously see me and 1 in the back that'll see me. So the goal is to be able to cut my fight off by 1, using the circle of the bubble and where the bubble will be, and 2, having that safety to play off of because there's likely more enemies in the back. So the more exposed I am, the more I can get hit or killed. I want to see that there's now 2 people here, and I have to recognize that, so I need to play it even safer. I'm holding this right angle because there's 2, and if I can have 1 go through here, 1 go through here, I can play a much safer game, but that is a risky play because I just got shot by the triple take to my right. I'm playing my bubble as best as I can. I get 1 kill, I flank around. I'm going to be honest, avoiding that seer Q, completely luck. That was not a play, and my teammate gets the last. So now, I'm going back into cover, playing my safety as best I can, and I know there's only 1 close. Nobody here because of Bloodhound scan, nobody here unless they're past the truck's area. So I can safely go for this, what I'm assuming is advantage in the back line. They get killed. Now I just want to push up. We're taking A. I just want to capitalize off this fight as much as I possibly can. Now, my teammate just, like, I'm afraid they're getting smoked, so I kind of stay above. I kind of stay back. It's just a waiting game because I have what looks from this area right now. I'm just gonna look back real quick because this is what when I went for this reload. That is one big thing in Apex, is unless you're directly in the middle of a gunfight that is getting you shot at, I'm safe here. I have 1 obvious enemy. I have at least 1 teammate, if not 2, that will, you know, because anyone over here that might be coming by, that could be coming over and helping. I have this 1 teammate here, and more that are over in mid. So my first instinct is to take in information, I get back to the gunfight when I'm reloaded, and then I'm taking angles. I know that I cannot take head on all the enemies that are respawning from the fight that we just took. So I'm walking around the backside looking for what I can take. I was assuming spawn positions wrong, and now it's one teammate, two teammates, and an unknown number of enemies as they're going to be spawning. So now it's just a waiting game to play my areas I can. They're now taking B, so I know there's less enemies directly on me. All of this information, which is a lot of information, and it's a lot to process quickly, but I'm going to go back over that once more so that I can kind of break it down slower in a much better fashion. So, when entering this gunfight, I'm just looking to get into the A capture as fast as possible because there's one teammate on it, one teammate on the way, right? So I take the jump pad over and I slide. I hear shots, so I know that I want to be looking right to cover my enemy. As I cover this top section, I'm turning around while holding my slide in the first forward direction and looking at this entire area behind me to watch where enemies are and how many there are. Teammate is dead. I now have this octane and a teammate to assist me. We're just doing the best we can to put in damage. He puts in his jump pad, and while I'm reloading, I'm looking where my teammates are, how close they are. I'm looking at the capture points and where they are, while also staying on this octane. Get the kill on the octane. First thing I do is look around, more teammates, and I want to reposition because I'm unsure of who's respawning and where. I'm still looking at where my teammate position are, and I keep moving back. More fighting is going on. I'm going to help my teammate because they're alone, but we have an approaching teammate as well. I say back simply because there's no point in possibly dying over a single octane in a 1v3, and then it's back to capturing. Once again, it's just checking angles. There's a couple of enemies that got scanned, and I know B has people on it, so I'm a little concerned of what's going to be happening. And so I'm looking forward now. There's a seer. Okay, so that was a lot of information. Try to break down as slow as it could. But that is sort of the best thought process to look at, especially playing as a team. With being Gibby, that positioning and knowing where everyone is going to help you. Because fighting as Gibby alone, because of your size, is less advantageous at every single range of the game. So all that information helps me sit back, helps me know what teammates are helping, and that allows me to take a better fight. From here, moving forward, I just know I want to hold off. We have the lockout. There's not much that's going to be done, and hopefully I can keep holding this. I can't go to B because of all the respawns. I'm back inside because of the triple take. I just hold my position. I'm just going to skip forward just like a slight bit here to sort of go over my last shots. One enemy in front, one enemy flying. I need to take what's in front of me. I want to save my bubble for the fight that I can take, and it's sort of a last resort. The more I can hold, the better I can do, looking for enemies. I'm just kind of observing where they're spawning because we have every single capture point, so most of them are not going to be taking the spawns back from us. It's actually a concern because of the triple take in the back that I could have to put down my bubble, but it's just a slow back to safety sort of measure there. Not really a lot that can be done. I'm just throwing the Gibby ult for space at this point. That is the biggest use of the Gibby ult. If anybody's approaching from any of those jump pads or walking in, they'd have to take extra time to go around the Gibby ult or risk losing health, sight, and like movement, which are things you just cannot give up for a good gunfight. This game, in all honesty, is just completely over at this point, so I'm just running in, going for kills. But one thing to note, when I am going for this kill here, I hear behind me the teammate that I think is an enemy. Now, right now, I'm having the mouse input issue. I don't know if anyone here has seen it before, but the mouse input issue is where you are skipping inputs. It's happened on my stream a couple of times. It happens when I'm recording. It just happens in normal gameplay. I'm not sure what's causing it. A lot of players aren't. But unfortunately, it messes up aim and such. Right now, I'm looking at using this. I have all this cover in space where I cannot be shot as long as it's inside there. So I can play my tracks. I peek myself wide. My inputs are skipping, so I'm kind of freaking out with my mouse. But that's all I could do for that fight. because I didn't have a lot of extra space to go off of. And if I just kind of slunk back this way, I either A, would hit the octane pad, or just been walking in a straight line. So it was better for me to take that fight head on. Now, here is an interesting note of, after this kill, I know there's the seer queue that I just saw that went over the enemy. From there, I hear there's enemy gunshots, a shotgun at least, an EVA likely. And so I tap strafe back to find where the enemy location is. I see them scanned, and now I'm just playing for space. My teammates are going to kill them, and there's not much that can be done. That's kind of like the end of all this. There's nothing much else that's going to happen in the gameplay. Honestly, I wanted to choose this very slow and pretty bad gameplay. One, most of the time, it's within the first 3 games when I do one of these gameplay reviews or VOD reviews that I go over. I don't care if it's a warm-up game. I don't care if it's a game at the end of my matches. All I do is try and ensure that I can get a realistic match. 16 kills, 3,000 damage almost, is pretty realistic for most above average players just casually playing Control. Because everything I'm doing here is not me in game mode, it's not me in pred lobbies or masters lobbies or in tournaments. It's just me playing the game and having about 1,000 hours, most of that dedicated to mechanics and positioning. When running into these gunfights, I'm giving a very simple overview. I'm not going over potential high-level mechanics. I'm not going over alert strafing. I'm not going over, like, the general high overview of how's everything can be done on the tiniest little level. I'm describing the thought process that goes into these, and that's the best way that I can put these. I'd like to do these later on stream and put together a more centered VOD review, but I hope that these kind of reviews really help everyone, and I'd like to break them down character by character. Control's gonna be gone soon, so I'll just kind of record as much as I can with different characters, keep pumping out the content. But if anyone would like to, they can either go through Twitter DM or the email I have on my YouTube, and I would gladly do a VOD review with them on stream or as a video like this to be able to put it out a little bit more and just give them back. I do have the private coaching where I can give a lot more in-depth notes. Both my time and your time are more valuable, though I do charge for that. These are some of the more high level, I would say, things that I would go over is inside those more private lessons. But the things that I'm going to put out as videos are just what I'm going to hopefully put forward in my best. Alright, see you guys later.